Right, let's go through these past exam questions. Which type of nuclear radiation is the least ionizing? You should remember the least ionizing type of radiation is gamma. What happens to the structure of an atom when an atom is ionized? Remember, for an atom to become an ion is any charged particle, it must gain or lose electrons. State one precaution people working with nuclear radiation should take to reduce the risk to their health. There's loads of answers you can have here. To wear protective clothing like masks and gloves, to work behind lead, concrete or glass shielding, to limit the time of exposure, so limit the amount of time you've got the radioactive source out for, to use remote handling like tongs. You can also maintain a safe distance and avoid direct contact. The next one is when you are using radiation to sterilize food. Which one of the following gives a way of increasing the amount of gamma radiation the food receives? So we've got our source of gamma radiation here, and it is shooting down radiation at these chickens that are moving on a conveyor belt across. The question asks which one of the following gives a way of increasing the amount of gamma radiation the food receives. So how do I increase that this chicken here gets more radiation? Do I increase the temperature? Do I make the conveyor belt move more slowly? Or do I move the cobalt-60 source away from the conveyor belt? It is the middle one here. If I make the conveyor belt move more slowly, I am increasing the exposure time of these chickens to the radioactive source. To protect the people from harmful effects of gamma radiation, the cobalt-60 source has thick metal shielding. Which one of these metals should be used? It should be lead. Remember, we're dealing with gamma radiation here. The only thing that slows down gamma radiation is thick lead, and even then it doesn't stop all of it. Right, finally the killer, and this is quite a hard question because it involves some biology as well. So food can be irradiated to make it safer to eat. Below is a photograph of peaches. 2 of the peaches were irradiated. The photograph was taken 1 week after irradiation. So we've got our non-irradiated food and our irradiated food here. Explain why irradiating food makes it safer to eat. So the first thing that it does is it prevents food poisoning. That's why it's safer to eat. It prevents food poisoning by killing the bacteria, or you could say microorganisms or mold. And why is it that why does it prevent food poisoning? It's because these bacteria would be producing toxins. So it prevents food poisoning by killing the bacteria that produce the toxins that give you food poisoning. You need all 3 of these for those 3 marks. Second question. Food is packaged and then irradiated. Explain why food is irradiated using gamma radiation rather than alpha or beta radiation. Okay, so you need 2 parts for this. The first part is saying that gamma is the only one that can really pass through the packaging. The packaging is enough to prevent a lot of the beta and alpha getting through, so it has to be gamma to start with to get through the packaging. Secondly, you don't want to be irradiating your food with beta or alpha because they would damage the food, they would ionize the food. So gamma rays pass all the way through the food without damaging or ionizing the food, so that's why it has to be gamma. It doesn't damage the food and it can pass all the way through safely. Some people are concerned that irradiated food could be radioactive. Describe how irradiated food is different to food that is radioactive. And again, this is a common misconception, not only with students, but in the wider world. A lot of people think that if your food has been exposed to radiation, then it is radioactive, and that is not the case. So radioactive food would be emitting radiation, whereas irradiated food has just been exposed to an external source of nuclear radiation. It's not radioactive if it's been irradiated. It's just had the effects of radiation put onto it. It's been ionized by the radiation, but it's not touched it and it hasn't become contaminated, so it is not radioactive.